You'd think being tired would quiet the mind. Instead, at 2:47 a.m., it hands the microphone to the worst version of you, the one who still remembers that awkward thing you said at a party in 2009, with total clarity. You're lying in bed, body wrecked, and your brain decides now is the perfect time for a full existential audit. Every regret, every fear, every possible way tomorrow could humiliate you. You're suddenly convinced your friend secretly hates you because they said goodbye weird. You rewatch the scene in HD. You notice micro-expressions that probably weren't even there. You draft an apology text. Then you draft a follow-up apology for the apology. What the hell, brain? I gave you a pillow. You gave me a breakdown of my entire life. It makes no sense. You're too tired to think, and yet you can't stop thinking. Sleep is right there, a warm void, and instead you're constructing elaborate arguments for why you're a failure. The more exhausted you get, the louder the mental noise becomes. So, why? What is wrong with us? Think of your mind as a busy office building. During the day, there's a CEO in charge, your prefrontal cortex. Rational, calm, wearing a tiny tie. It filters information, shushes irrelevant worries, keeps the whole operation humming. It knows the recycling bin schedule is not grounds for eviction. It has perspective. But when you're exhausted, the CEO goes home, and the night crew clocks in. The night crew is your limbic system, and the shift manager is the amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped drama queen that starts screaming threat at the faintest memory. Normally, the CEO pats it on the head and says, "It's fine, buddy. That was just a weird text tone." But the CEO is asleep, and the wiring between the CEO's office and the alarm room, it literally starts to fray. Sleep deprivation reduces connectivity between your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. The emotional brakes fail, so the alarm just keeps ringing, and you lie there, hostage to a brain that's decided a missent email is a saber-toothed tiger. But wait, there's another crew member who clocks in when you're tired. The default mode network, a web of brain regions that lights up when you're not focused on anything external. It's the daydreaming network, the self-referential "remember that time you messed up" machine. When you're well rested, it hums along quietly, occasionally showing you a nice sunset memory. When you're exhausted, it turns into a late-night archivist with a grudge, pulling out every embarrassing file, every what if, every "you should have said this instead." It's not just paranoia, it's a full-scale retrospective of your worst hits. So it's not a bug, it's a feature. Picture our ancestors. Night falls, they're exhausted, vulnerable, predators prowl. A twig snaps outside the cave. The tired hominid who just shrugs and falls asleep might not wake up. The one who lies awake imagining every possible threat survives. Her genes pass on. We are her children. We lie awake not imagining leopards, but imagining our boss's tone in that one email. Thanks, evolution. Really nailed it. But here's the twist. Those spiraling thoughts, they're not new. They were never created by tiredness. They were always there in the basement of your mind, shouting just as loud. You just couldn't hear them because the CEO had the soundproofing on. All day long, your brain filters out about 95% of what it processes. It has to. Reality is chaos. So it curates, it edits, it tells you a story about your life where you're basically confident and mostly liked. Then fatigue punches the editor in the face. The filter shatters. You get the raw feed. That's why a weird look from a barista becomes irrefutable proof that you are fundamentally unlovable. The thought was always floating around somewhere looking for a microphone. Exhaustion just hands it the stage. Fatigue doesn't generate overthinking, it just disables the mute button. So that 3 a.m. voice, as obnoxious as it is, isn't an intruder. It's the part of you that has always been scared, always been vigilant, finally getting a hearing. When you're tired, you're not getting a fresh dose of crazy. You're just hearing the noise that was always there. That can feel terrifying. It can feel like your own mind has turned against you. But maybe it's also the most honest version of you, stripped of filters, raw. That voice that replays your worst moments, it's the part of you that desperately wants to belong. The voice that spins catastrophes, It's trying to protect you from pain. It's clumsy, it's exhausting. It's the relative who keeps forwarding you articles about home invasions, but it is, in some broken way, deeply caring. The frightened kid inside who never learned the world is mostly safe. And here's the mistake we all make at 3 a.m. We try to reason with it. We argue. We present evidence that the friend probably didn't notice the weird goodbye. But you can't out-logic the limbic system with a prefrontal cortex that's running on fumes. That's like trying to negotiate a peace treaty with a fire alarm by giving it a PowerPoint presentation. The CEO is asleep. The night crew doesn't speak spreadsheet. It only speaks safety. So tonight, when you're exhausted and the night crew starts its shift, try something radical. Don't fight it. Don't tell yourself to stop overthinking. That's yelling at a smoke alarm to stop detecting smoke while the battery is dying. Instead, just acknowledge it. Speak the language of the night crew. Slow breath, body heavy, mentally scan the room. Bed, pillow, no leopards, and then in your own voice, say, "I see you. I know you're trying to keep me alive. But we're safe now. The recycling bin is fine. The weird goodbye is already forgotten. I don't need to draft a follow-up apology for the apology." And then maybe you both can get some rest. Not because the thoughts were silenced, but because the watchman finally heard someone say the war is over. The tired brain isn't your enemy. It's just a very, very loyal watchman who forgot to read the peace treaty.
If that made something click, hit subscribe. New videos dropping on this channel covering the hidden science behind the way you think, feel, and behave, explained simply, visually, and in a way that actually sticks. Hit the bell so you never miss one. The answers have always been there. You just needed someone to explain them.